Now, coming to Woodward Sports. Woodward and Main Street. The Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Good morning, Lions fans, and wow,
Let's
what
go.
a morning it is. This is Woodward and Main Street, your Lions Insider Show, and hopefully your first stop of the day to recap Clinchmas.
Clinchmas.
Because that's what it was. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, Terry Foster. We have a great show for you here this morning. Lots to recap. Man.
First division title in 30 years.
First NFC North title ever.
That's right. I've never won the
Ever.
NFC North.
Ever.
Hey,
And you know what? And I've already been insulted this morning.
oh, already.
Some clown in the chat said, "Hey Terry, don't come on and being a hater." Look, I was one of the first ones to tell you clowns the Lions were different. Told you clowns the Lions were going to win the division.
Yeah.
And then when everybody panicked after they lost to Seattle and lost to Baltimore, and I said, "Hey guys, it's all right. They're gonna rebound. It's different now." And y'all was like, "Oh no, they're not. I was on the Lions. This is their true colors. Jared Goff sucks, and Dan Campbell's a clown and everything." And I said, "Maintain your cool.
Heck
So
yeah.
don't suck that crap with me this morning."
Keep it cool. This is not the morning to mess with Terry.
No, don't mess with. And I get another Christmas gift today.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna be on the final word today.
Oh, my
what was-
goodness.
what was
I can't even
sports-
believe you showed up here. You graced us with your presence before you get to go on that show.
You kids are cute, so I didn't want to let you down.
But it's you
Oh,
and Sean
thanks.
Beligian at 2 o'clock on the final word today.
Yes.
All right. Well, this is the first word here.
Yeah,
On
we
Woodward
are
and
the
Maine.
first.
The first word. Talking about that Lions game. What an epic division
And
championship
actually, we've been
game.
the only word for the last 2 days.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
I
true.
mean, I looked back at the live shows on Woodward Sports YouTube channel, and I was like, oh, man, look at that. We were the first word
Let's go.
2 times in a row now.
Let's go. Well, how about that? You said you got to watch the game. You weren't.
I did get to watch the game because we are going to get into the pessimistic and optimistic. And my pessimistic was that I didn't think that I was going to be able to watch the game, which was going to be incredibly disappointing. But don't you worry, thanks to technology, I pulled out my computer and my hotspot because not only does my
We had a
grandma's
house
house
with no TV.
no TV or internet.
Remember she was at it was a great
My
grandma's?
great grandma is my 98-year-old great grandma's house, and she does not have TVs that work or Wi-Fi that works. So,
It's witchcraft.
yeah,
She
it's
live in a log
crazy.
cabin?
Crazy nowadays. You know what? Beautiful house, but really missing out
TV's
on the
not her.
technologies. Nope, TV is not her thing. So there were no TVs. I was at the kids' table with my laptop sitting there, my immediate family, and my 6-year-old cousin sitting there watching the game, all huddled around a table, probably half the size of this table, with the mixed match chairs. But we had the play settings out and my TV in the middle of it, hiding it from my great grandma so that she didn't see that we were watching the Lions game the whole time that we were over at
Glad
her
you got to
house.
see it. It was thrilling, and it was spine tingling.
That's for
And
sure.
it pretty much went like I said it was going to. Not to pat myself on the back.
I mean, it was quite the game. Now, I do have to get into another thing that didn't happen during that game.
Uh-oh.
Even though Terry got a lot right, one thing that Matt got wrong was his optimism that Aiden Hutchinson was going to get at least 2 to 3 sacks.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be that day. We've brought it up before. We've expected
Yeah.
a couple big games out of him, and he actually did play pretty well, but he didn't have those sacks. He actually didn't have any. I don't think he had any tackles, but he had a couple of huge plays. None more important than the batted ball. It was, I think, the first play after the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter. He batted the ball down at the line. It was going to be a completion to their wide receiver, Brandon Powell. Minnesota was moving the ball at that point, so it was a huge sort of momentum stopper. And then the Lions, those last couple seconds, they pulled it out. Iffy Melifanu with the big interception to close out the game. But, yeah, it wasn't Aiden Hutchinson's 2 sacks, so I was wrong there. I was. But that defense, they showed up, Aiden or not. That defense showed up. Even giving up 24 points, that's got to be the difference maker in the game, right? Got to.
Yeah, I mean, they attacked the quarterback. The cornerbacks lured Mullins into interceptions. And I know he got yelled at for being young and inexperienced and stuff. But, I mean, they set him up.
Yes.
He thought Jefferson was open. He thought guys were open, and people were just kind of shuffling around, and then they just timed it just to swoop in front of the balls and intercept them.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge game, and I know you'll talk about iffy throughout the show, but Kirby Joseph, he had those 2 interceptions, both of which he really did bait Nick Mullins into those throws, thinking Justin Jefferson was going to be wide open, and then he snuck in front and picked it off. It was great to see Kirby return to the stat sheet in terms of interceptions. He had a big game. That was huge.
He really did. And Terry said that the Lions had to be focused because this was still a good team.
Yeah.
And they had to be focused on the fact that, this isn't the Broncos, but there's still a chance that the Vikings could come in there and scare them. And then your optimism was that they're a winning team now, so they need to have trust in those guys.
Sure. And there's something about the teams in this division. I mean, they've played each other for a million years. They know each other very well. I think it's more difficult to beat, obviously, team in the division that would be Denver or some teams like that, because that's that familiarity. And I think there's a hatred based on tradition with all the Minnesota, Chicago, Green Bay. I mean, what team did people in Detroit hate the most last year? It was Green Bay. And I had flashbacks from my childhood. When I was a kid, Minnesota Vikings beat the Lions like 17 times in a row. And so every time the Lions played Minnesota, I didn't want to watch because I knew what was going to happen. And it was always some crappy score like 13-10. I mean, they never got blown out. It was always right there. He said, well, they'll get them next time, and they never did until after 17 losses.
I'm just waiting for the time when Minnesota doesn't have a wide receiver that's at the top of the NFL.
Yeah.
I grew up watching Randy Moss and Chris Carter, and then all of a sudden Stephon Diggs, and then Justin Jefferson. It's like they always have a star receiver, and it was Justin Jefferson down the stretch who was making Lions fans a little bit nervous with some of the acrobatic catches he was making, just some of the first downs he was getting. He had another solid game. It was pretty big. It was solid. There was a wide receiver for the Lions that outplayed him.
He was great. And I was like, why don't they double team this clown? I'm like, oh, they are.
Yeah. And then Kirby Joseph slide right over for the pick.
Solid game, and we are going to have a solid show for you here today. So stick around, and we are going to cover game balls in the next segment. We'll see you soon.
There is a chance that we might not be able to go to commercial break.
There
we go.
Yep.
Sports, Woodward and Main Street. The Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Catch Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
And we are back.
We are back.
Woodward
Welcome back, and it is
Maine.
time for those game balls to get right into it.
We're pulling it together here on the day after
Yes, we are.
Boxing Day, you said, in Canada?
Boxing Day. It is Boxing Day in Canada, in the UK, maybe in all of Europe. I don't know. If you celebrate Boxing Day, congratulations.
People that talk like this, it's Boxing Day.
Yes. Okay. But over here, we are celebrating Clinchmas, so we have to cover our game balls because when the Lions win, we get to give away game balls, just like Dan Campbell. And there was no cheating across the board today. I'm going to have Matt kick it off. He gave his game ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I sure did. Amon-Ra St. Brown. He had, let me get these stats right, 12 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown. 12 catches seems like a pretty good game. 106 yards, pretty good game. 1 touchdown, pretty good game. But what stood out to me, I was looking, as I reviewed the game, 8 of those 12 catches were for first downs. Every time they needed a first down, every time they needed to move the chains and can either continue some momentum or try to steal some away from the Vikings, it was Jared Goff looking for Amon-Ra St. Brown. He did spread the ball around a lot during this game, but when he needed him the most, Amon-Ra St. Brown showed up making great catches in traffic, over the middle, at the sidelines. I was very impressed. When your best player on offense shows up like that, it's hard to beat the Lions, and he did.
That's right. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the smallest tight end in NFL history. That's what he is.
It's very true.
Players that show up doing what they can for that win sounds very Lions to me. And another player that did that was obviously Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
I mean,
I had a hard time picking
incredible
between these two,
game.
Gabby.
Now, what I also have to say is the NFL thought that Jahmyr Gibbs had such a good game that it couldn't have been a natural game, and he was randomly selected for drug testing after the game,
wow.
which he passed. And, all naturally did that game. So
Now, if he didn't
stick
pass,
that
would
to
the Lions
NFL.
have to forfeit the game?
I don't know what would happen there.
I don't know. But it's not something that we have to worry about because he passed that drug test.
Yeah.
The random testing did not seem so random there because he just plays
It never is.
like he's not human. And I want to go back to the beginning of the season, to preseason, to pre-OTAs. I got to go all the way back to the draft.
Oh.
Remember the narrative around Gibbs that, why would you ever take him so high? Why would you ever take a running back so high? The Detroit Lions are certifiably crazy. Nuts. What is Brad Holmes doing? I mean, not to call out Braylon, but he was angry. He was angry that the Detroit Lions were taking a running back for their first pick so high in the draft. What a waste. What a waste. Not looking like such a waste now, huh?
No, it doesn't look. But the other reason they're saying it's a waste is because running backs are expendable. He'll play his rookie contract and then they'll want to get rid of him. So he's not a long-term solution. That was the only other reason that he was. But Duke could play. And you know what I said? This guy's nothing but a number 2 back. And that's proven not to be true either. He is a number 1 back. He can go between the tackles. And
Yeah.
They always had faith in him. But this roster, I think he epitomizes what this roster. There's a bunch of guys on here that you look at and say, at some point said they're not that good. At some point you said they're not going to make it. At some point you said they're going to hurt this team. And these guys are helping this team. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of them. Yeah. He's just going to be a little scat back that goes around the end, and he'll catch a couple passes, but he won't make an impact. Why is he here instead of Jalen Carter? Why is Sam Laporta here instead of Jalen Carter?
Yeah.
Because Brad Holmes had this vision in his mind, and it's coming to fruition.
It's perfect.
15 carries for 80 yards, 4 catches for 20 yards.
Sounds like 100 scrimmage yards to me. Again.
Wow, you're a mathematician.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
80 plus 20.
We add here, too.
He's got that
This
rare
early in the
ability, and maybe I don't want to go too far in comparing him to Barry Sanders, but when I see him run in between the tackles and then burst outside,
Yeah.
he has that agility to sort of stop on a dime. He plants his foot in the ground, and he goes so lateral. But he explodes from that moment. Those things are the types of moments that I think of Barry Sanders. I'm not going to put him in that category. I'll let Terry do that whenever that happens, if it ever happens. But his ability to run in between the tackles, collapse the defense, and then burst it outside, he's been phenomenal. And you pair that with David Montgomery, another misfit, the guy in the lane of misfit toys. This defensive backfield, man. Offensive backfield, the running back duo.
There you go.
They're impressive. They're special. I think they're special.
You don't have to compare them to Barry Sanders, but I did see Dan Miller and Tim Twentyman have done that already because they were on the plane watching one of Woodward Sports posts on the way back from the game, and Dan Miller said that he was sitting next to Tim Twentyman, and they were going over all this, and we're like, wow. I mean, he's looking a little bit like him.
If you're going to compare anybody to Barry Sanders, I'm stepping in and saying you can't do it.
Okay.
This is the most unique running back in history.
Barry.
Barry.
Yeah.
His cutbacks are greater than Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously, Gibbs is a young guy. But Barry Sanders was just different. Yes, we know he was a good running back. He was a great runner, but he was so creative in the way that he ran. Cutting back and those big choppy steps that he would take. And the only thing, if you want to criticize, was 2 things you can criticize for. He lost a lot of yardage as a running back because he was always trying to hit the home run. And he did get caught from behind a few times when he was on his big runs. Instead of it being an 85-yard touchdown, it was an 80-yard run, which is still really damn good.
Yeah, he didn't have the longest strides. He was a little guy.
No, he's a little fella.
He's a little guy, so he could burst past them. It's just keeping that up for 100
But you know what he had? He had redwoods for legs. His thighs were just so big.
Yes.
That's why you couldn't tackle him.
Yeah.
I think they're calling Dylan on the Packers. They're calling him Quadzilla, but maybe Barry Sanders was the original Quadzilla.
Oh, Barry Sanders definitely was. Saquon Barkley is just a bigger version of Barry Sanders, but they're like those are two guys I would not want to tackle.
Now,
Speaking of tackling,
Terry's pick,
T. Foss, this is a good one.
Iffy. How you feeling about him in that performance?
It was great. I almost didn't pick him because I can't pronounce his name, but I said we should because someone on the defense had to be represented. He had a couple interceptions and quarterback sacks and 5 or 6 tackles. He was all over the field, and if he represents something that's happened for the Lions the last 3 years, he is a byproduct of his coaching staff, which is not getting credit for developing players. There's always a guy the latter part of the season that we're not talking about at the beginning of the season, either because they're on third on the depth chart or they're injured or something. We weren't talking about this guy, Iffy. Now we can't stop talking about him the last 4 games. He's fantastic, and now you have to wonder what's going to happen if your boy CD Deuce, when he comes back. They're going to have to reconfigure that backfield, which is going to make it even stronger. At some point, you have to have CD Deuce and Iffy on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
I have to point out the fact that you did call him CD Deuce. You said that you weren't going to, but you did.
I did.
He did.
You know what? The holiday spirit got in there.
You're feeling really positive, and it's crazy how the narrative has changed with the backfield because we started on such a high, and it tanked really quickly, and now here we are again, being like, okay, the Lions have a lot of talent on their hands. How are they going to spread the love? How are they going to split this between these really talented players?
Yeah. And
who knew?
The guys who've stepped up are guys who've been on the roster or added in the middle of the season. They're guys that weren't expected to play. You're talking about Iffy Melifonwu, Khalil Dorsey, Kindle Vildor. They've all played pivotal roles in these last 2 wins. But to have Iffy back there, make the plays he does. Dan Campbell said after the game he's a factor. He's truly a game changer in some of those plays, some of those sacks. That's been, to me, the difference in the last 2 weeks. Aaron Glenn scheming up those sort of let the cornerback or let the safety run free to the quarterback and try to get him. You could see a couple of the replays. Nick Mullins about to get hit by Iffy. It was not a good afternoon for Nick Mullins, but Iffy played fantastic. You said his stats were crazy: 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 QB hurries, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass defense, and then that big interception to close out the game. It was impressive.
He was everywhere.
And Brian Branch showed up again,
too. That list is crazy.
Yeah, Brian Branch showed up, too. He had 6 tackles and a sack and an interception, a forced fumble. That secondary, especially the safety room, they were all over the field.
After Brian Branch had that one little mishap, you just saw him completely turn on, and he looked like a madman from that point on.
Right, and also the secondary did something I don't see very often in the NFL. You see interceptions because a guy may outmaneuver a wide receiver, or he stays with him and he intercepts it. The Lions secondary, they did it a different way. They suckered Nick Mullins into interceptions. Nick Mullins will look back and say, "Oh, my guy's open, so I'm going to throw him the ball." And the Lions are like little lions in the woods, and they say, "Oh, nope, he's not open," and it picked it off. So there has to be film study. It has to show that they're smart and they're conniving. And that's how they got their interceptions.
But even though we have all these names on the board, there's somebody missing.
I know. Now, didn't I say if you don't see Sam Laporta on there, that means that we've been body doubled?
We've been kidnapped?
Hey, y'all in the chat room, maybe you should call the police because this is not us up here.
Nope. These are our body doubles because Sam Laporta is not on our game ball board for I think maybe one of the first times this whole season.
It is. Hello, my name is Terry Foster and I'm really here. I'm not a body double.
That was brilliant, and I don't think there's any way that we can come back from that. So we're gonna have to move on to the next segment because that was too good to beat. We are going to get into the coaches next, so stick with us. and we'll get right to it. Got to overview the coach's performance. Here we go.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
And welcome back to Woodward and Main Street, your Lions Insider Show here on Woodward Sports Network. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, Terry Foster, here for a very exciting morning in Detroit.
NFC North champs. That's right.
And I think it's even more exciting to see how every single person that I have watched that has talked about this accomplishment for the team in national media, in the interviews, in the press conference room after the win, in the locker room after the win, they've all said, do you know how much this means to the city? They always go back to the city, to the people, to the Detroit Lions fans, and say, you know, they've been waiting for this longer than anyone has been on the team. So how does that feel to be a Lions fan, and how does that feel to be in this city? And I mean, I want to get into it and give some time to this in the last segment, but kind of how it compares to the last time something like this.
I got to request you send this to Terry first.
Yeah. Terry?
Well, I have felt sorry for Lion fans for decades and decades. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they stuck with this team because they were so awful. So after the game, I know some players and Dan Campbell were in tears, with the tears of joy. And I kind of wonder how many Lion fans cried after watching them win a division title.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't seen it in so long. I was a spry guy in his 30s the last time the Lions won a division.
Yes, you were.
You were in your 30s.
I was in my 30s. And I'm an old man at 64. So that's how long it's been. A lot of these players weren't even born the last time the Lions won.
Yeah.
I would say most of the roster, 80% of the roster wasn't even born the last time they did that.
Our current quarterback, Jared Goff, was not alive.
Born.
Nuts.
And even the old quarterback, Matthew Stafford, who they're going to play in a few weeks, was a toddler. But, you know, this means so much to this community because people are diehard Lion fans. Even when they suck, they stood behind them. Said, this is my team. But, you know, there's another aspect of this, too. A lot of people were frustrated with the Lions. They got second teams. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how many of those people who got second teams, whether it was Baltimore, Chicago, Pittsburgh, if they're getting rid of their second teams now.
I wonder.
Because you never saw the Lions in the playoffs, and when you did, you knew they were one and done.
So you needed a backup to root for. When the Lions lost eventually during the season, you had to have someone expected to make the playoffs to root for.
Sure.
Fair. Now that's gone.
And you know who I'm seeing a lot of? The San Francisco 49er fans here in Detroit.
Oh.
That's bandwagon because they're really good.
Yeah.
So they're not going to get rid of the 49ers, but maybe they might drop Pittsburgh or Cincinnati and the Bears.
Yeah. Well, Lindsey Hunter, he's the only one that can keep the 49ers fandom alive.
Yeah.
That's his team. That's been his team forever.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I want to get into more on the 49ers in the next segment, but let's take a look at the coaches' performances from this past game, from this past win, from the divisional champions, the Detroit Lions. There we go. Finish that sentence there. You are calling Ben Johnson a chess master. Can you elaborate on that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, so I picture once they won the toss and elected to receive, for the second straight week. I just pictured Ben Johnson in Dan Campbell's office earlier in the week saying, and we've been talking about the Ben Johnson-Brian Flores matchup.
Yeah.
I picture him in a meeting with Dan Campbell, slamming his fist on the table, say, if you get the chance, I want the ball. Let me have the ball first.
Yeah.
I want to be aggressive going against Brian Flores. That's exactly what he did. They got the ball and drove down the field, a drive over 7 minutes. I think it was 13 or 14 plays. It was the perfect scripted first drive for the Lions, and that really set the tone for the game. And then it just seemed like, although the game was back and forth, Brian Flores had some good moments. Ben Johnson seemed one step ahead the whole time. I do believe the defense made the difference, but man, to see Ben Johnson, to see what he can do with the healthy offensive line, to see how he was spreading the ball around, whether it was through intermediate or deeper passes or finding guys creatively behind the line of scrimmage like Khalif Raymond, like Jamison Williams. I thought he called a great game, and it showed 30-24 Lions. I thought Ben Johnson definitely won this chess match with Brian Flores.
And he's got more weapons now. I
Yeah.
I think when you add JMO, that's an extra weapon that you didn't have before. And so that's making this offense better. And it seems like no matter what he does, the Lions some way, somehow manage to score 30 points or more.
Somehow, right?
Time.
And I think it's all of their wins. They have been scoring more than 28 points in all of their recent wins since
You know what
the
I was
bye
happy
week.
to see yesterday?
What?
Even though Jahmyr Gibbs was having a fine game, I am glad for that final drive to try to milk the clock and try to end the game that they went to David Montgomery. Now, I thought they passed a few times too much on that last drive. They should have just given it to him. I think they could have milked most of the clock off and maybe scored.
That's actually a good point, Terry. That is maybe the one drive where I was a little curious, like what it seems. Although you wanted to run the clock out, it seemed like Ben Johnson got ultra conservative. Just pound the rock with David Montgomery. That's why it seemed they were keeping him out. He didn't play, or he didn't have as many snaps or rushes in the third quarter. And there were people all over Twitter talking about, is David Montgomery injured? Why do they keep giving it to Gibbs and no Montgomery? But they brought him back in there at the end of the game to try to run it out. I just thought, like you said, they should have done maybe been a little more aggressive just running the ball. Just let that time run out.
Now let's look over on the other side of the ball, the defense.
Yes.
What have Aaron Glenn's adjustments meant over the last 2 weeks?
The A word. Be careful using that word. But they've been everything.
Yeah.
They've been everything, right, Terry?
Yes, they have, but he's been more aggressive. Is that the A word we're
No,
talking
A word's
about?
adjustments. You can't say that.
adjustments.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, of course they don't have to adjust, but he's been more aggressive. I mean, we've seen sacks by cornerbacks, which we haven't seen most of the season. I think he realizes the four-man rush isn't happening. So he's, spotting in blitzes. He's bringing in guys that you don't expect him to bring in. He's surprising the offenses on the other side.
Yeah.
So, yes, the A word, adjustment.
Yeah. It was everything.
And aggressiveness.
Yeah, both of them. He adjusted to be more aggressive. It was the sacks from Iffy Melifonwu, even the rushes just from Iffy. Brian Branch got in there and deflected a pass. Kendall Vildor again, another game where he's rushing the passer. He's now becoming less predictable. It's not like the talent's been better. There's been injuries, but he's being more unpredictable to the offensive coordinator. And when they're playing a non-mobile quarterback, when there was no risk of it breaking down and Nick Mullins trying to escape, they knew exactly where they needed to go, and this team they're so together on defense. They don't always play the best, but they communicate well. They're together, so not having to worry about a mobile quarterback, things broke down less, and so they were able to meet in the right gaps, fill in for their brother rushing on the other side of the line. It was a second really good defensively called game, really good called defensive game out of Aaron Glenn.
I thought
there's a couple times Mullins could have run, but he's like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. This is not what I do, so.
Yeah.
4 interceptions, the takeaways. 4-1, the Jahmyr Gibbs had that fumble, in the second quarter? But the Lions, they won the turnover battle, and look, it made a difference at the end of the game. They didn't miss an extra point. That was going to be huge.
How fantastic.
It was almost a complete game.
Almost.
Almost.
You beat me to it.
Yeah, I'll wait. Unless you're coming at me right now.
No, let's do it. Let's cover it. Why wasn't it a complete game?
Because they missed an extra point.
Mm-hmm.
That you can't
Really?
do that. Yeah, that's it. They had a field goal, which was great. Nice little, what was it, a 30, 40-yard field goal from Michael Badgley. That's fine. Yeah. But that missed extra point, that changed how they had to plan the rest of the game, whether you're going for two, whether you're trying to take a field. It changed a lot. It didn't end up hurting them, but if Minnesota goes down and scores and they win 31-30,
we'll be talking about it all day.
Yeah, that just can't happen. Can't happen. Can't win with them. Can't do it.
We're going to talk more about the win in the next segment and what it means for what is to come for the Lions. So stick with us, and we will be right back.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel. Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Welcome back to the corner of Woodward and Main Street. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips, alongside me Matt Broder and Terry Foster to kick off I think we're going to call this Winning Tuesday because, yesterday was Christmas, Clinchmas, and now we can celebrate Winning Tuesday as well. Thank you for tuning in bright and early this morning, and thank you to Les Stanford for making this show possible. Ding.
There we go.
We are going to get into kind of a temperature check around the league. I mean, the playoffs are now 100% happening for the Detroit Lions.
Clinched.
There is going to be a home playoff game, and we have to talk about what this means for the Lions and what is to come. So,
can I ask a question to Wimpy, Matthew, Broder over here?
Strays. Come at me, Terry. Let's go.
Now, should the Lions rest their players the rest of the season because they've clinched? Oh, you changed your mind.
We got that #1 seed. That #1 seed is alive and well.
Hoo-wee.
It's not the easiest path to get it, but it is alive. Not only was Sunday a good day, Lions clinched the NFC North, clinched a playoff berth, but everything we needed to happen on Monday, on Christmas Day, that happened too. A couple extra Christmas presents from Santa for the Lions.
Very, very much so. 49ers lose. I mean, those Ravens.
Oh, man, it's dangerous.
Great Odin's Raven.
Everyone was like, the Lions lost to the Ravens. The Lions lost to the Ravens early in the season. Everyone was shocked. But now, look how good the Ravens are playing. Wasn't that bad? I mean, it was still a bad
smacked the Niners on their home field.
on Christmas Day.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, and this is Nick Koloff, Nick in our sound booth on Woodward Nights, I think going into this game, Lamar Jackson was 18-1 against the NFC in his career. I think that moves to 19-1. The dude's impressive, and I think moves into that #1 spot for the MVP race ahead of the quarterback opposing him last night in Brock Purdy, who threw 4 interceptions. But that loss, it leaves the door open. The Lions need to win out. And correct me if I'm wrong, this all came out this morning. Lions need to win out. 49ers need to lose one of their 2 games against Washington, the Commanders, which probably won't happen, or final week of the season against the Rams, against Matt Stafford and the Rams, who still may have something to play for, still may be vying for a playoff spot. So it's there. Lions now control their own destiny, which is why they can't sit anybody. They got to go try to win these games.
Lions control their own destiny, and somehow Matt Stafford does as well.
Destiny is gliding.
Which is like, how is this happening?
Yep.
Once again, Matt Stafford controlling kind of what's going to happen with the Lions here if the Lions can get it done for the team. But the other team that took a loss over the weekend was the Dallas Cowboys, a second
America's
loss in a row. Now, does this make you more or less worried that Dallas is going to be coming off of 2 losses in a row? Are they going to have that extra fight in them that you've talked so much about, Terry, this season?
See, it doesn't change things for me. The thing is, this is 2 different teams, and now they're going to be at home. That's what worries me more about the Cowboys. Because this crap we saw the weekend, we're not going to see next weekend. Because yes, they'll be motivated, they'll be home. The Jerry Dome gives them some type of juice, magical powers that we don't know. So this is a game where I'm hoping the Lions don't get mollywopped, because they're walking into a Hornets factory. I know people always like to talk about, well, you don't want to win games so you can get momentum for the next game. I don't believe in momentum between games. Each game is an individual chapter of a book, and they're all different. I'm more worried about playing the team that just got their asses kicked, because they're more motivated, they're listening to their coaches, the team is more likely to make some adjustments that you are not aware of. And so I think the Lions are facing Dallas at a very dangerous time, because, they don't want to lose 3 in a row. They don't want to lose at home. But everybody loses at home at some point. So I'm hoping the Lions can be that one team to beat them. But I'm more concerned about the Lions walking to a Hornets nest and just getting blitzed. That could happen too.
Yeah, they're the Cowboys are what the Lions were like coming off that Chicago Bears loss, where it's, the fan base is a little down on them, wondering if they're fraudulent in Week 17. Now they're going home, and Terry said it best. I don't have much more to say. They're a different team at home, a completely different team. That's why you need not only get that higher seed than the Cowboys, so there's no chance that anybody has to go, that you have to go play them in Dallas, but to have them lose like that to Miami, that's tough.
But doesn't this season seem like all the contenders are vulnerable?
Yeah.
All of them, yeah.
Kansas City looked awful yesterday. Okay, Dallas, vulnerable. Philadelphia barely gets by the New York Giants and the Italian Stallion. So when you look at the way these teams have played, they can all get on a streak and win. They could all just lose in the first round, it seems. Or maybe by the second round.
Yeah.
I mean, who are you most worried about the Lions facing in the postseason?
49ers.
49ers still.
49ers, but there's no big bad bear out there.
Yeah.
There's not that hulking bear looking at you said, come on here, I'm going to kick your ass. The 49ers are still the closest thing to that. I would say that this division is going to go through San Francisco, that they're still the class of this league. Because what you do when you're an elite team is you turn your game up in the playoffs. And I think that's exactly what San Francisco is going to do. Philadelphia probably could do the same thing.
Yeah.
They know they don't have to blow out the New York Giants. There's no style points in the NFL. You just win the game and you move on. And I think Philadelphia and San Francisco are still the 2 most dangerous teams in the NFC. And the Lions are right there, but just a little bit behind. Because the Lions don't have that playoff pedigree. They don't know what it's like to be in the playoffs. They don't know what it's, the other teams ratchet their game up. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I think this next week is going to be a good kind of measuring stick game to see where the Lions are at, how they can hold up against a contender this late in the regular season. It's going to be a good one, and we'll
Saturday
be right
prime time.
back here on Saturday at 8 a.m. to get you ready for another Lions game day, where we hopefully will be preparing for a Lions win.
Yes.
Not too bad, hey?
Yeah, but you know how this town goes from left to right to right to left. If the Lions beat the Cowboys, we've gone through,
It's going to be chaos.
Yeah, it's going to be chaos. But we've already seen chaos where when the Lions lose, they're the worst team in the NFL. Their coach stinks. Their quarterback stinks. The defense stinks. But if they beat the Cowboys, it's going to be going to the Super Bowl. This town doesn't know how to react to each game. So it's going to be nuts all the way around. Jared Goff should be in the Hall of Fame. Get him the gold jacket. Let's make Coach Campbell Coach of the Year. The Lions are going to beat San Francisco. That's what we're going to see if the Lions beat the Cowboys.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I think airlines are going to see their tickets from Detroit to Vegas go like this.
Yep.
Sin City, they call it. Sin City.
Yeah,
Well-
all those hotel reservations out there are going to have Michigan registration on them.
Exactly. Well, we will be back here right in Michigan on the corner of Woodward and Main Street on Saturday at 8 a.m. to get your Lions game day started. I'm Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, Terry Foster. Happy Boxing Day and happy Victory Tuesday.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle Dee Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.